So, yes, the ripple effect. So, I'm just going to talk about Nordea's story with trying to change internal perception about accessibility. But before I actually start talking, I should probably introduce myself a little bit. So, my name is Adele Asuncion, as Daniel had said. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, United States. I've actually been a designer for 25 years. I know my looks don't show that. I do love living in Finland. Don't ask me why. I can really talk about this in a very deep philosophical way. It can bore some people. And I started my journey at Nordea Digital around 2017, 2016, and I've been an experience director for roughly 3 years. Where I left off was that I lead a multidisciplinary team of designers from service, UI, UX, content designer, visual, and also some creative technologists, which are the unicorns, where there are front end devs and such, who also have an understanding for design. And we're responsible for Nordea's design language, design system, about accessibility knowledge transfer, and aiding with our streamlining with our ways of working. Some of you may not know about Nordea, so I will go a little bit into who Nordea is. As Daniel said, we are the largest financial institution in the Nordic region. So our roots actually date back to 1820. So we've been realizing customers' dreams and aspirations for over 200 years. We're currently headquartered in Helsinki, Finland, in Valila, an area of Helsinki. We have roughly 27,000 employees. We serve over 13 million customers in the Nordic region, and there are four main organizations. There's personal banking, business banking, large corporate institutions, asset and wealth management. CX and design community that I'm a part of in personal banking has over 70 designers and counting. So 70 was when I wrote this. I think there's like 75 now. So quite many. A little bit about the law, who are not familiar with it, which I'm sure many of you are if you work at a bank. So the EU Accessibility Directive basically requires that all necessary services need to be accessible. So banking, transportation, so on and so forth. This came into effect about roughly 4 years ago. Each EU state has their own local legislation, which will be followed. For us, Finland was the first, and then along after that, it would be Denmark and Sweden. As we have a Nordic solution for our products, our digital products and services, if one country gets fixed, so for example, Finland, then the others should follow suit. The deadline to actually be compliant in the EU is by June 28th, 2025. It may seem like a long time from now for some of you, but it's actually not a long time if you deal with a lot of products and services. So I might be preaching to the choir, but I think basically everyone benefits from accessibility. So a small fraction of our customers actually depend on screen readers, keyboard navigation, and such, but everyone can benefit from it. There is a large age population that is growing in numbers, and almost everyone goes through some temporal situation. If you've sprained your, I don't know, your wrist or gotten eye surgery, for example, it may hinder your possibility to use a product or service on a mobile device or either on your desktop. Now, this is a really good quote that's been spread around from Steve Krug in the book Don't Make Me Think. The one argument for accessibility that doesn't get made nearly often enough is how extraordinarily better it makes people's lives. How many opportunities do we have to dramatically improve people's lives just by doing our job a little better? And doing our job a little better is the part that really resonates with at least my perspective here. It's a complete shift in how we think. That being said, shift in how we think, it means that we're going to have to insert here, there, and everywhere in our ways of working and really try to spread accessibility information all across the bank. So this may be obvious to some of you as we're probably majority designers. Within our design ways of working, our designers use a design system that's actually gatekept by the team that I'm in, with a design system that's WCAG 2.1 AA compliant. So as a subsequent to this, the developed counterpart, which we call Nordea Common Components, it supports screen readers and keyboard navigation usage. So even the colors, typography, everything has been thought of. We also provide guidance to the designer and developer community through www.nordea.design. And sorry, as said, all of the juicy bits like our design system is after login, but you can get a feeling of the site. There are some open parts to it. We've also inserted into the ways of working for tech and development accessibility as part of our software release gating model and definition of done. So QA tests for accessibility, robustness, and compliance, and it should be done prior to every production release. If there are accessibility issues that do get through the gate, then they could subsequently again be found through internal testing and third-party testing done via an approved dedicated accessibility process. So we do have a higher level approved, and when I say approved, it means that we've gone through an audit and it's been approved. It's found to be robust, dedicated process to ensure that we can start um, mitigating any of the accessibility issues and it starts to diminish over time. We're also trying to insert it into product management as well. So at the start of every product increment, and product increment is in safe agile framework, which is what we work in. Basically, it's at the start of the start of every 6 sprints, which we plan for. Accessibility is in their requirements as well. So there's an architecture runway. We talk about all of the things that need to be looked at, prioritized is a must or should. And essentially, product management and product owners are the ones who can really move the needle to ensure that we can become compliant on time. So they're the ones who are able to, of course, prioritize anything in Teams backlogs and ensuring that accessibility processes are actually followed. They are also responsible for updating the accessibility statements that we release every year that is published on nordia.fi or .se or .ek. And then at an even higher level, across the bank. So really across the 4 main business areas from personal banking, business banking, LC&I, asset and wealth management, um, we have a steering committee that was actually established. With the regulatory changes, it was set up to ensure that all of the business areas are supported during this implementation process, throughout 2020 until 2025. We talk about budgets, the processes that every organization is going through, and they provide also legal support. So there's a general good support network, you could say, in order for us to be compliant. Interestingly enough, CX and design is represented in the steering committee, and I am also part of the steering committee. So one of the things we're doing to try and change people's mind is, of course, by spreading knowledge. What we've been doing is that we've been trying to certify designers in accessible design. And we've actually taken a look at Ali Collective. It's a Dutch company, and we're getting, for example, 1 to 2 designers per design team to be certified in accessibility design. And when we say certified, it means through a credible. So there's something to show that they went through a lot of the modules. Also, these designers who went through certification are considered accessibility champions, where they're also helping spread knowledge to other designers in CX and design. So if there's onboarding that would happen, they would also help onboard other designers into understanding the basics of accessibility. We also meet in order to discuss ways we can evolve our ways of working and by helping spread the word to other business units or other disciplines about accessibility. So really very passionate designers who understand the need of accessibility and want to, of course, shout it off the mountaintop. We've also certified 1 creative technologist in CX and design with IAAP Web Accessibility Specialist. And fun fact, he's 1 out of 1,114 developers in the world to be certified. So congratulations. I see you in the actual webinar. Thanks for joining. All right, so on to spreading knowledge to other disciplines. We've also held workshops to train developers and product managers about accessibility. So when we first started the whole, getting ready for accessibility, let's take this seriously. A few of us in CX and design, and from also legal, who are part of compliance, and also some developers from the developer community, helped us to have workshops, for example, last year, to teach everyone about the importance of accessibility within their realm of work. We're actually going to continue holding accessibility workshops yearly to remind new and existing members of the developer and PM community to ensure there's a baseline knowledge about accessibility and to understand really the importance of it. Now, this one is, I think, the most important key because it's what really makes people start to think, okay, I need to start taking this seriously in my work. I need to start really incorporating this. It's how we've been spreading awareness and empathy. So the best way to do this is, of course, is by building relationships. And it was initiated by CX and Design. We've been talking to various federations from the Federation of the Visually Impaired, Dyslexics, ADHD, in order to help us spread the awareness internally. So a few years ago, and I'm going to give a shout out to my predecessor, Panu Gandarvo, big props to him. And same with Konstantin Fedorov, who's been also helping us have these workshops. He had invited people from NKL, the Federation of the Visually Impaired of Finland, to host a workshop for designers and developers, and that got a lot of good reviews. So we've continued that, as seen in this photo. And we have our friends from NKL repeat visits because it's been a very positive situation, a lot of good feedback from people at Nordea, and they start to really understand the importance. So what happens is that they talk about the importance of the EU Accessibility Directive. They'll talk about services that are working really well for them. They talk about how it's like to use a screen reader, how it's like in their everyday lives, and they talk about they actually use our products. So the eye-opening part, of course, is when they use our products, and that sparks a lot of communication and discussion. Um, and since we started this in CX and design community for the workshops to spread awareness, we've been teaming up with other groups across the bank to further spread the awareness. So the more you have there, the more it could really be, of course, communicated. So we started communicating with the EU Accessibility Directive Steer Committee and the Diversity and Inclusion Employee Resource Group to organize and host more of these visits and workshops in different countries and headquarters with the various ability variations. The key to this is that we hope empathy sparks, and when they see people use these services and how long it may take for them to do this, that we will start taking accessibility more seriously in their work. It's the law. So TLDR, we actually still have a metric fuck ton of work to do. I'm gonna have to admit, we have a lot of products and services. There's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts. It's a huge company across many different countries. It's very difficult to have something work in unison for something, but we're getting slowly better, and we're changing perception one day at a time, which I think is a good thing. So I think we'll be ready. And that's it. Thanks for listening.